Alhamdulillah wahda wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da amma ba'd. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today's program is regarding zakat. Inshallah we'll go through the virtues, the fada'il, and of course the sin for not giving the zakat. And then we'll go through on whom zakat is due, and which assets zakat is due, and on whom you can give, to whom you can give zakat. So those eligible to receive the zakat. And then inshallah I'm planning to cover all these topics comprehensively as much as possible, including many people usually ask questions, so I'll try to incorporate that into today's talk. If there is still questions at the end, I will take some questions as well, inshallah. So starting off, zakat, as we know, is one of the most important pillars and fundamentals of Islam, of our religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, establish the salah and give the zakat. Now we all know that after Iman, the most important action is salah. In more than 30 places in the Quran, more than 30 places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned iqam as-salah, establishing the salah, and iqamat as-salah, and giving the zakat together. That shows how important it is, the importance of zakat. Then if you look at the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a hadith muttafaq alayh, Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bunya al-Islam ala khams, shahadati an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadur Rasulullah wa iqam as-salah wa ita'i az-zakah wal hajj wa sawm Ramadan." That Islam is based upon 5, and that's where we refer to the 5 pillars of Islam. Shahada, that there is no God except Allah, and Muhammad is the servant of Allah, Rasul, the messenger of Allah. Iqam as-salah, establishing the salah. Ita' az-zakah, giving the zakah. Wal hajj, and pilgrimage. Wa sawm Ramadan, and fasting in the month of Ramadan. This is what we refer to as the 5 pillars. So this shows the importance of zakat. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran in Surah Mu'minun, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts in the beginning, there's many qualities of the believers mentioned. And throughout the Quran, many qualities of the believers are mentioned. One of the qualities, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ, those who give the zakat. This is a quality of a believer. And then there's a hadith from Anas radiallahu anhu, in which he says, تخرج الزكاة من مالك فإنها طهرة تطهر. Take zakat out from your wealth, because this is a purity, a means of purity. It will purify you. It will purify your wealth. So this is a means of our purity, purifying our wealth. And it's important to understand that when we are giving zakat, we are doing our responsibility, fulfilling our responsibility. We are giving the haqq, we are giving the right of the poor to them. That the amount of zakat which is due on an individual, that is not my wealth. That must be given. That must be separated from my wealth. That's what we need to understand. That's why when we see in the Quran as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned how we should give, when we give charity, we should give openly and secretly. In the ahadith, we learn that we should give charity, sadaqah, so secretly that our left hand doesn't know what the right hand is giving. So to do tatbiq, to combine both, and to have the correct understanding, many scholars explain that for zakat, you should do it openly. Because it's not like your sincerity shouldn't be affected, because you're not doing someone a favor by giving zakat. So 2 things will happen. One thing is, when you're giving zakat to someone, others will be encouraged as well. Zakat, we need to give our zakat. Second thing is, there won't be any room for someone accusing you that this person doesn't give his zakat. Okay, that's two things. And when it comes to the sadaqah, then the sadaqah we should do, the optional charity and the sadaqat we give in the month of Ramadan and elsewhere, we should do as secretly as possible for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we need to try and do. So these are the virtues of giving zakat. Now, if we don't give zakat, then there's wa'id as well. There's mention about punishment. Sahih al-Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, "Man ataahu Allahu malan wa lam yu'addi zakata, muthila lahu maluhu yawm al-qiyamah shuja'an aqra." whoever Allah has given wealth and he does not give its zakat when it's due, then this zakat will be transformed into his wealth, will be transformed on the day of judgment into a bold snake. Into a bold snake. Lahu dhabibatan. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given a graphic description of this to show the terror and how evil this snake will be. So it will have lahu zabibatan yutawwaquhu yawm al-qiyamah. So it will have two black spots on its eyes. And this will be it will be latched around the necks. Toq penaya jayega. يطوقه يوم القيامة, on the day of judgment. ثم يأخذ بلحزمتيه. Then it will latch around the neck, and then it will grip the person from the jaws. ثم يقول, then it will say أنا مالك, I am your wealth. أنا كنزك, I am your treasure, which you used to treasure. ثم تلا, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited the verses of the Quran. ولا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله هو خير لهم بل هو شر لهم. The people who withhold, yabkhalun, who do bukhl, who are stingy, miserly. So those people who withhold from what Allah has given them from His fadl, through His grace, they should not think that it is good for them. Those people who are withholding, this is in the Quran. Bal huwa sharru lahum. Rather, this is evil. This is bad for them. Sayutawwaquna ma bakhilu bihi yawm al-qiyamah. Whatever they are withholding, this will be made to latch around the necks of the people on the day of judgment. Wallahu walillahi mirathu samawati wal ard, and Allah is the sole inheritor of the heavens and the earth. Wallahu bima ta'maluna khabir, and Allah is all knowing of what you do. So we can see wherever there's a reward for doing a good action, there is punishment for not doing it as well. Same thing with Ramadan as well. There are so many blessings of Ramadan, so many barakat, so much reward multiplied. But again, there's the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he climbed the minbar, he said Ameen 3 times, and each time he said Ameen, there was Jibreel Islam came and he made the dua. One of them was that if a person finds the month of Ramadan he is not forgiven, may such a person be thrown into the hellfire, and may Allah cast him away. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Ameen. So wherever there's promise, there is wa'id mentioned as well. So hope and raja, hope and raja, hope and fear. We need to make sure the balance is right. So these are the virtues with regards to the zakat. Now, with regards to giving the zakat, and on whom zakat is, who is eligible to give zakat, who needs to give zakat. So first of all, a person needs to be baligh, mature, meaning they have reached the age of puberty. So once they have reached the age of puberty, male and female, they have to calculate their individual zakat if it's applicable. It's not a household thing. As I said, I'm going to go through many misconceptions while I'm talking about this, because many people come and they say, we have calculated our zakat and we have this amount of loan and this and that. I said, it's not about we have calculated our zakat. For example, if I'm the man of the house, I might have loan on me. If my wife has got gold and other assets, we need to calculate zakat. Even if we're doing it on the same day, we need to calculate zakat separately. And then if my zakat, if the loan, if I'm in debt, then I can deduct that from my zakat, but not collectively. Each individual needs to calculate their own zakat. Okay. Then when it comes to giving it, then with their permission, the husband or the father can give zakat, but they need to know regarding that as well. They need to be informed. That's why it's very important in our household, especially when we calculate the zakat. We need to do our due diligence and deliberate about this. Make sure we are fix a date and check. We'll come back to that inshallah. So the first thing is that we need to those people, man and woman, who have reached the age of puberty, when a person becomes the sahibun nisab, the owner of the nisab. Nisab is the threshold of zakat. Okay, so nisab will be used quite a lot in today's discussion. So nisab is a threshold on which zakat becomes compulsory. So the first time when you receive this nisab, you need to jot it down. You need to make a note of this date. Okay. So now there's two nisabs mentioned in the hadith with regards to gold and with regards to silver. The nisab of gold is 20 dinars. Or 7.5 tolas, those who calculate in the tolas, 7.5 tola, or 87.5 grams approximately. So if this is the nisab of gold, and this comes up to, this is the gold and silver is, it fluctuates during the year, but gold is much more expensive than silver. So this is, I would say, I think over 6,000 pounds, the nisab of gold. Then the nisab of silver is 200 dirhams, as mentioned in the hadith, which is 52 tola, 52.5 tolas, or 612.4 grams. And that comes, the equivalent to that in cash is around, I would say, 400 pounds. Again, whenever we are calculating our zakat, we need to check the value on that date. Now what the scholars have said, that we need to take, the fuqaha, they have explained, again, there is difference of opinion, but especially the Ahnaf, the Hanafi scholars, they are of the opinion that the lesser of the two nisabs will be taken. Because at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gold and silver value was quite similar. So now moving on, the value of gold is much more. If we go by that value, then many people won't be giving the zakat. So we take the nisab of the silver, which is around, as I said, around 400 pounds. We check whenever we are calculating. So let's just take 400 pounds for today. So whoever has this amount for the first time, okay? So let's say, for example, a person starts a job when he's become mature. After education, he started a job and he's received his first paycheck. Paycheck is probably over 1,000 pounds. So that means he is now owner of the nisab, the threshold, more than 400 pounds. Okay, so now he needs to note that date, because zakat will be due yearly. Okay, and he needs to note the Islamic date, not the Gregorian calendar, not according to our January to December. Why? Simple, because the lunar calendar is 10 to 12 days shorter every year. Over a period of 35, 36 years, a person would have given 1 year zakat less. That's why it's very important, and we need to, those of us who know, alhamdulillah, but we need to create this awareness, and especially teach our children, educate our children. Many a times what happens is, we think they're still children. When they get older, closer to maturity, we need to introduce them to the masail of the rulings regarding zakat as well. Create the awareness at least so that they know when they have enough money, they need to calculate zakat. So the zakat is not many, and again, many people think, it's Ramadan, zakat will be given in Ramadan. The reason most people have selected Ramadan for zakat is because they probably don't remember the first time they became malik of the nisab, the first time they owned that amount of money, and later on maybe they realize, okay, you know what, I should be calculating zakat. Then it's easier to remember Ramadan. And even when it comes to Ramadan, don't just specify Ramadan as the month, or not in the beginning, because some people say to me, in Ramadan I calculate my zakat. Which date of Ramadan? 1st of Ramadan, 15th Ramadan, 27th Ramadan, 10th Ramadan, which date? You need to fix a date. As I said, because the nisab fluctuates, your wealth will fluctuate. So it's not like you're going to take an average. You just fix a date, that date, and every year on that date you will calculate your assets, your zakatable assets. And we'll mention which those assets are. Okay, now with regards to, many people would have it in their minds, where does 2.5% come? So on the gold or silver, the nisab, if someone has reached that amount of zakat, then they need to give 2.5% of that of their assets. So 2.5%. Where does that come from? There's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari which mentions that for 1,000 for silver, 1/4 of 1/10, the hadith mentions. So 1/4 of 1/10 is 2.5%. Okay, and there's a hadith in Abu Dawood which mentions for 200 dirhams, when a full year has passed, and that's where the hawlan hawl comes from, the yearly, because it's mentioned in Abu Dawood. So when a full year has passed, on 200 dirhams, 5 dirhams are due. That's 2.5%. And if you have 20 dinars, then half a dinar is due, as mentioned in the hadith of Abu Dawood, which shows that it's 2.5% from the hadith. And the hadith of Abu Dawood also mentions the year going by. So the first year, and that's where again another misconception. Many people think, "Hamare log kehte hain pehli saal ki zakat maaf hai." That the first year zakat is forgiven. It's not forgiven. It's when you have the amount, then the year goes by. On a yearly basis, you will give zakat. So when the year goes by, it's not like that year is forgiven. Once the year is completed, then the zakat is given. Now, moving on to the zakatable assets. On which things zakat, as I just mentioned, gold and silver. But if there is the equivalent of gold or silver in cash, and I'm not going to stick to silver now, because as I've mentioned, the jurists, the fuqaha have explained how the lesser of the two need to be taken. This will be in the benefit of the poor person as well, and inshallah it will purify our wealth. So we take the nisab of silver, which is, as I said, roughly £400. It could be above or below, which we need to check whenever we are calculating our zakat. So gold or silver, these are zakatable. And if someone has cash equivalent to that, okay, then that is zakatable. Business stock is zakatable. And business stock and assets, these are zakatable assets. Investments such as shares, I will mention regarding shares as well, inshallah. So with regards to business, again, and there's zakat on pensions, those pension schemes which you are contributing towards, and then debts owed. If you have lent someone money and they owe that money back to you, there's zakat on that as well. Again, there's difference of opinion within the scholars, but according to the Hanafi view, the Hanaf, this is, and you would see how, according to the Hanafi view, it's more, a lot of the time it's a safer option. Just making sure that you are not, you are paying the zakat, you're giving the money. And then there's a zakat on agricultural produce, and also livestock as well. So the zakat on the agricultural produce and livestock, I would say, is probably less applicable, not applicable to us over here, so we won't discuss that. There are certain rules, how many animals, if a person has how many animals, how many he needs to give in zakat. So there's a whole calculation with regards to that in the fiqh books. If it is applicable to someone, then you may contact a scholar or a knowledgeable person, and he can guide you further on that. So we won't go into that. With regards to business stock as well, if someone has got business stock, then they need to give zakat on the zakatable assets. It's not everything that your business has. So there will be certain things, such as, for example, the place. If you've got a building, or if you've got a car for delivery, that's not zakatable. You're using that for your business. But the other things, such as the merchandise which you are going to sell on, so that will be zakatable. That you need to calculate zakat on that. Okay, and when it comes to investments such as shares and stocks, the scholars have differed in the opinion. But when it comes to investments in the stock, especially, the safer option, okay, one opinion is give zakat on the whole, whatever you have, your whole portfolio. Okay. But then, as I said, in business as well, not all assets are zakatable. So the stocks that you have invested in, we need to make sure that they're halal stocks that you invest in. Investments in stocks is permissible as long as the company is dealing with halal, nothing haram going on. Okay, so no insurance or haram or alcohol or such things. And we need to do our due diligence check before we invest. So in the investments, it's like business as well. Your business, it's not like you're going to calculate everything related to your business and give zakat on everything. So as I just explained, if there's a building, if there's cutlery, for example, you've got a restaurant business, the cutlery and all these things you're using on a daily basis for the business, you're not selling that on, you're not going to calculate that in your zakat. But whatever the material, you're going to be calculating that. Similarly, the stocks that we invest in, again, the best thing would be to check which assets are zakatable. So then you would need to, it becomes a bit more difficult. Those who have a financial background, or you will need to contact your accountant, maybe look at the the results of the year and the result sheets and all the, go into the detail, the nitty-gritty, and it becomes difficult. So the scholars, many fuqaha, especially in England as well, many of them are with National Zakat Foundation. What they have done, they took an overview. They looked at many of the shares in the stock market, so many of the stocks, and they came to the conclusion is that most of the time it's less than 40%, the zakatable assets, majority of the time. Okay, some people have given a percentage of 20, 25%, but to be safe, as I said, 40%. So if of your whole portfolio, you calculate 40%, okay, and this is for long-term investment. Please remember, long-term investment, meaning someone has bought it, and at least he doesn't have the intention of selling for at least a year, 12 months or more than that. Not short trading, not day trading, for example. Some people do that as well. So if you're doing that, then your whole portfolio you need to give zakat on. But this is long hold. Some people, they invest and they leave it for a long time. When it goes up, if I need the money, then I'll take it out. If there's no intention of pulling out. So on long hold, you calculate 40% of your portfolio, and then you give 2.5% of that in zakat, which would, if in other words, add up to, if you do the calculation, the maths, it would be 1% of your whole portfolio. 2.5% of the 40% would actually be 1%. But this is what you need to do. Calculate 40%, give 2.5% of that in zakat. And this is similar to the pension, your pension schemes as well. When you contribute towards pension, the pension schemes and those, when it goes into a pot, what you have contributed, and then your employer probably doubles it in certain cases. And there's a lot of details and different pensions as well. But with regards to that, it's similar. So you need to check your whatever you've given, your pension, whatever has been put in, and calculate 40% of that, and on 2.5% of that you need to give zakat. Now, with regards to that, there will be two options. One is, again, with regards to the pensions, there are differences of opinion. Some scholars have said you don't give zakat because you don't have possession of it, you can't take it out. But then other scholars, especially the Hanafi scholars and the muftis who are with National Zakat Foundation as well, they have said no, because it is your wealth, you own it, even though you can't pull it out straight away, but zakat will be due. So there's two options then. You calculate zakat. Once you receive it, you can give it all together, lump sum, or you can give it on a yearly basis. You've got two options, inshallah. Okay? So that covers the investments in stocks and shares and pensions as well. Now debts. So debts. So with when it comes to debts, if you owe other people money, then that will be deducted. Okay, from you when you calculate your zakat, if you've calculated your zakat and let's say you had zakatable assets, so gold, silver, cash, stock, investments and everything, that comes up to £5,000, for example, and a year has gone by, but you owe someone £10,000. So then you won't be giving zakat, because the debt is more important. You need to pay someone off. So zakat, you don't need to give zakat. You need to make sure you pay that person off. And on the other hand, if you have given money to someone, so for example, if I have given you £10,000 over, let's say we agreed 5 years, qard hasana, 5 years I give you £10,000 and you'll return it to me within 5 years. Now again, there's difference of opinion. Some scholars say that you don't calculate zakat on that. But then the Hanafi scholars, the Ahnaf, they say you need to calculate zakat on that. You need to calculate on a yearly basis. The person who has given, he needs to calculate, not the one who has received. And then you might think, if someone says that, even if you make an agreement with the person, I'm giving you this loan, but the zakat on a yearly basis you will need to give. That won't be permissible, because that will become riba, interest. You understand? So the person who is giving it, he needs to calculate it on a yearly basis. Again, he can give it once he receives it back, or he needs to give it on a yearly basis. Okay, this is the understanding with regards to debts and loans. If there's a loan which is a person doesn't have hope that he will receive it back, sometimes this happens, where you've given someone money and you've been asking for it back, and then they've deleted their number, left the country, whatever. Then you've tried reaching out from other people as well, but there's no response, and now you've lost hope. that I'm not receiving this money. Okay? So on that, you don't calculate zakat, because there's no hope in receiving that back. So you don't calculate zakat on that. If, for example, later on, let's say 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, that person, Allah gives him hidayah and he wants to pay back, and he comes and gives back the money, but you had no hope of receiving back, then you don't backtrack it. From whenever you receive that money, then you calculate zakat from the next time onwards. Okay? So that's, I think, more or less everything covered with regards to the loans and debts. Okay? Let's have a look. Yeah, so now we move on to those who are eligible to receive the zakat, the masraf, where zakat can be given. First of all, we need to understand two things before we go into the verse of the Quran. One thing is that zakat needs to be given to Muslims. Zakat you're not allowed to give zakat to non-Muslims, and this is the understanding of this. There's a narration in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, he told him to collect the zakat and give it to the Muslims. So from that, the scholars have agreed that zakat needs to be given to Muslims. Sadaqah, charity, other optional charity you can give to non-Muslims as well. But zakat must be given to Muslims. That's one thing. Second thing, as I said, which is mentioned, many people ask that can I give zakat to my brother? Can I give zakat to relatives, my uncle? Yes, of course you can. And rather, there is more reward in giving zakat to your family, to close. What we need to, the bottom line, the usul which we need to remember, that when it comes to zakat, you cannot give zakat to your usul and your furu. You cannot give zakat to your ascendants and descendants. So your father, grandfather, and down your children, grandchildren onwards. So these you can't give zakat to. Other than that, your brother, sister, paternal, maternal, aunties, uncles, you can give zakat to if they are eligible. And when will they be eligible? We will mention the people who are eligible to receive zakat. If they are eligible genuinely, you can give zakat to them, but you need to make sure, one other thing, is that you are not receiving benefit of that zakat. Let's say if you're living in a joint family system, and eki khata chal raha hai, you're living together, then you need to be careful and mindful, because it will be, if he's using that, what you have given him zakat, and he's going and getting groceries and shopping, and you're using that as well, you shouldn't be benefiting from the own zakat that you have given. That's what you need to remember. And when it comes to giving zakat and sadaqah, charity to your close one, wabda biman ta'ul, start with the ones who are close to you. The hadith in Nasa'i and Ibn Majah, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, as-sadaqatu ala al-miskin sadaqah. Giving charity to a miskin is giving charity, is sadaqah. But وَعَلَى ذِي الرَّحِمِ إِثْنَتَانِ. On the close relative, the will arham, if you give charity, that is double. Why? It is sadaqatun and silatun. The Prophet ﷺ said, it is charity and you're doing silatul rahim. You're getting double reward. Because many people have this misconception regular basis, especially in Ramadan. When Ramadan comes, many people come to ask Masail regarding zakat, because as I said, a lot of the time, that's when zakat, many people calculate their zakat because they don't remember when the first time they received the nisab, when it was. But it's not fixed with zakat. With the month of zakat is not fixed with the month of Ramadan. Let's say it was the 1st of Muharram when you received the first paycheck, for example. Let's say it was 20th of Rabiul Awwal. Any month, any date, you need to jot that down, remember that date. When a year goes by, on that date you check. So on that date, the following year, you check. If a year has gone by, so you had nisab, remember it was how much? Silver nisab, roughly around 400 pounds. We need to check the nisab of silver. Okay, nowadays it's very easy. You go into Google, type nisab, zakat nisab, and many websites, many charities, they'll give you the amount, exact amount on that day. So let's say around 400 pounds. So first of Muharram, a person had 400 pounds for the first time. He got a paycheck of 1,500 pounds. And then next year, 1st of Muharram, he checks. Has he still got more than the nisab? If it's more than the nisab, whether it's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, then he needs to give zakat. Then calculate zakat on all the zakatable assets, gold, silver, cash, stocks, investments, all these things. Calculate, make a full calculation and give 2.5% of that. During the year, the fluctuation doesn't matter. During the year, if it's gone up and down, it doesn't matter. Remember, if it's, let's say someone had 30,000 pounds during the year, but then he went and bought a car for 20,000 pounds. By the time next year, by the time the year finishes, if he doesn't have that amount, it's done. Then he doesn't give zakat. Even if it's 1 or 2 days before that date. Let's say 1st of Muharram, I was meant to give zakat. 2 days before that, I buy a car. Then I don't need to give zakat on that money, even though most of the year I had that amount. Or if let's say, and the understanding according to the Ahnaf, the scholars, what they say is that if you calculate all your zakat together. Some other scholars have said you do it different, separately, business separately, the year of the business is separate. But that becomes a bit more difficult. You have to do much more calculations. I would say the easier option is that of the Ahnaf, according to the Hanafi scholars, is that you fix one date. So all your assets, everything is calculated on one date, on a yearly basis. Okay. Now, one other thing when we were mentioning the loans, I forgot to mention, was when it comes to long-term loans. Many people ask this question. When it comes to long-term loans, such as mortgage, student loans, and other such payments, long-term loans. So the ruling regarding that is that you don't deduct the whole amount from your zakatable assets. Let's say someone had £30,000, he's got a loan. He's taken a loan, 30,000, but he's giving £1,000 installment a month. Okay, so when he calculates his zakat on a yearly basis, he's not going to say, okay, I've got £15,000, which is zakatable. So £15,000, but I'm in debt for £30,000, so I don't have to give zakat. No, it doesn't work like that. Long-term loans, you calculate 12 months payments. 12 months, the 1 year installments. Okay, so student loans, mortgage payments, you calculate over 12 months. If you're giving, for example, £1,000 a month, then you deduct £12,000. As I said, you calculated after a year, you've got £15,000. You deduct £12,000 of payments, and then you give zakat on £3,000. That's the correct understanding. Okay. So now coming back to those who are eligible to receive the zakat. With regards to that, I think I've mentioned everything. Now we can move on to the verse of the Quran. The verse is in Surah Tawbah, verse number 60. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ فَرِيضَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. Verse number 60 in Surah Tawbah mentions 8 masarif, 8 categories to whom you can give zakat. Zakat needs to be one of these. You have to make sure you're giving. When you're giving zakat, you need to make sure that you check that the person is eligible to receive zakat. Don't be casual about it. Sadaqah is okay, the optional charity that you're giving. Zakat, you need to make sure. Okay. Another rule that many people ask this question: can I give zakat before the date? You may give zakat, but the intention when you give the money, you need to have an intention of giving zakat. That I'm giving zakat. Okay, you can't do the intention later. Let's say you gave £200 sadaqah, then later on you think, oh, I could have given zakat for that, and I'll calculate it later. Then you can't change your intention. When you're giving it, you give it with the intention of zakat, and then you still need to calculate your zakat on your anniversary, on your date. And whatever kami peshi jo hai, if you've given more beforehand, then that will go into sadaqah. But if you've given less, then you need to give that amount, whatever is remaining. Okay. Now, another question many people ask, and hopefully I'm answering all these questions people have in mind, and maybe less question and answers later on. But another question many people ask is, do I have to tell the person that I'm giving zakat to, that I'm giving them zakat? You don't have to tell them. You have to have the intention that you're giving zakat, but you don't have to tell them, hey, this is zakat, take my zakat money. You can just generally help them. Remember, all the time you need to make sure that they are eligible to receive zakat. If they are eligible to receive zakat, you can give them money as help. You don't have to, because many people don't like, they don't like receiving zakat. They don't want to be given zakat. And other help they would take. Many people have this mentality, this understanding. So you could do that. Then there's many people ask this question: can I give zakat to someone who is getting married for their marriage? Again, for their marriage or for any other reason, for business, you give for any other, whatever you're giving zakat to. Main thing you need to remember when you are giving zakat, that person needs to be eligible to receive zakat according to the Sharia. One thing. And the other thing is you need tamlik. You need to give them milkiyah. You need to make them the owner of that. You need to hand that over. Now let's say, hypothetically speaking, for example's sake, someone is getting married. You know they are eligible to receive zakat, but then you're not sure how they're going to use it in the wedding. They want money, they need help for the wedding, but you're not sure how they're going to use it. Are they going to use it to waste money or whatever? So what the correct way to do it is you give them zakat. If they are eligible to receive zakat, give them the zakat. Now how they use their money, that is up to them. You've done your responsibility. You understand? Let's say, for example, a poor person, I give him my zakat, and that poor person goes and he goes to a nice restaurant and he spends it all on one meal. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but if someone did that, I'm not going to be questionable for that. I've done my due diligence. They were eligible to receive zakat. I gave them zakat. If they misused it, they will be answerable. Okay, so khair. I'm going a bit here and back and forth, but as I'm remembering some of the masail which people ask regularly, I'm mentioning that as we go along. So now we're looking at this verse of Surah Tawbah with regards to those who are eligible to receive zakat. First thing mentioned, so 8 things mentioned. First thing is faqir, second one is miskin. Normally we just translate both as poor, but the difference is faqir is someone who is poor, who has nothing at all. Miskin is someone who has something, but they have less than the nisab. The nisab threshold, remember I mentioned, which is around £400. If they don't have that, they are barely making ends meet. They are just, they are month to month, they are paying the bills, and they're just getting along. So that's miskin. Faqir is someone who has nothing. They're struggling for a meal. Okay, so both these are eligible to receive zakat. You can give to any one of them. Then there's the third category mentioned in this surah is amilin, the distributors of zakat. Now this was in the early days, at the time of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and then later on when the Baytul Mal was established, they were, you could say, workers. It was their job, it was their responsibility. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would send some Sahaba, go and distribute the zakat to such and such a clan, such and such a place. And then later on as well, in the Khilafah as well, there were people it was their job. So you could say giving their salaries, giving money to them out of this for their duty that they are performing, that you can give from the zakat. Amilin, the distributors of zakat, you can give them from the zakat as well. Number 4, mu'allafatul qulub. Now this was in the beginning of Islam, as you know, when Islam was new and people were accepting Islam. Sometimes they were, zakat was given to them so that their hearts were reconciled. They were firm. They weren't, because many people, when they were accepting Islam, they were kicked out of their homes. They were kicked out of their lands. Exiled, they had nothing, so you give zakat to them. Okay, so those who to reconcile the hearts, new Muslims, you give zakat to them. Then number 5 says wafir riqab, you can give zakat money, use the zakat money to free slaves. Again, there's no slavery nowadays, so it won't be applicable. If it comes back in later on before the end of time, then we can give zakat for that. Number 6, gharimin, those who are genuinely in debt, intense debt. Okay, so they may seem like they are. So a person might be sahibul nisab. He's got, let's say, he's living a normal life. He's fine. He doesn't, and he's got the nisab, which is £400-500 on a daily basis. So he's got a monthly. He's got more than £1,000, but he's in debt. Let's say he's got £20,000-30,000 debt. He owes someone money. He is sahibul nisab, but he owes someone a large amount of money. We can help him for the debt, to pay off his debt. We can give zakat for that. You understand? Okay, so gharimin, number 6. Number 7, fi sabilillah, and number 8, wabn sabil. So those, number 7, fi sabilillah, are such those who are in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either they're in jihad or for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are traveling for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are cut off from their noble means of income, they have no other means of income. maybe if you go back to their homeland, this was especially those days. Nowadays, travel isn't as difficult. Those people who are traveling, doesn't take that long. Those days, people used to travel for weeks, and they will be away from their homes for months. In their homes, they might be well off in their locality, but they are traveling, and now they've run out of wealth. They don't have anything left. You can give zakat to such people. And the other one, wabn sabil, those who are travelers, and they are also cut off from the sources of their normal income, so you can give zakat to them as well. These 8 categories you can give zakat to. Zakat has to be given to one of these, no one other than them. We need to make sure. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to mention is with regards to when it comes to giving zakat for the women. Many women have, I think women are listening as well, so many women have this understanding that if I've got gold, especially I know in the Asian culture, but other cultures as well, I'm guessing when you get married you give a lot of gold. Some people don't, some people do. So usually when a woman gets married, she receives quite a large amount of gold. If that, now, there is a nisab for gold, which I mentioned, 20 dinars, which equates to 87.5 grams. If someone has more than that, then that's the nisab of gold. So what we need to understand is if someone has just gold, no other assets, someone has just gold, then they give zakat according to the gold nisab, the threshold of gold. But if they have, and usually this is the case, if they have the gold, and with that they have some maybe silver or some cash or some other things, then the lower of the two, which is the silver nisab, that will be applicable. Do you understand? So your cash, you're going to calculate, let's say someone's gold is worth 2,000 pounds, because the nisab of gold is over 5,000 pounds nowadays, very expensive. Let's say someone had gold worth of 2,000 pounds, lower than the nisab of gold, but then they've got some silver, maybe silver rings, but they've got some other jewelry, they've got some cash. Every woman nowadays would have cash with them as well. So they need to then calculate everything, the value of that gold, the cash, the silver, everything, and give 2.5% of that, because that has gone over the threshold of the silver nisab. The silver threshold is gone over. So we need to make sure we're giving that. Now, one other thing with regards to jewelry, slight difference of opinion. Some scholars say no, but again, I think the Hanafi view in this is much stronger, because there's a narration in the hadith as well, in Abu Dawood, Sahih hadith, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked Aisha radiallahu anha. Now I'm talking the ruling regarding, because the question comes, what about the jewelry that is used? Zayrat istemal kiye jate. So some scholars have said that jewelry which is being used, you don't give zakat on that. But the correct view is that you need to calculate zakat on that as well. Because there's, as I said, Sahih hadith in Abu Dawood, in which Aisha radiallahu anha, she was wearing some silver rings. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam inquired. He asked, and she said, "This is for you, Ya Rasulullah." She's wearing it for her. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked her, "Have you given zakat on it?" And she said, "I haven't given zakat on it." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, the punishment for them in the hell is enough for you. He said this to Aisha radiallahu anha, meaning that jewelry she was wearing it. So some scholars have still said that the jewelry which is being used is like other assets. So now normally when, for example, other people or whatever we have, our homes, properties, cars, even if someone has more than one car, then they don't need to give zakat on that. That's for their use. Even if let's say you've got a very expensive watch worth thousands of pounds, you don't need to give zakat on that. You're using that watch. Your expensive clothes, you don't need to give zakat on that. Okay, these are the things which you use. You're not going to be giving zakat on those things. Okay, so the jewelry is different. Excuse me, the jewelry is different. Again, the correct view is that you need to give zakat on the jewelry as well, inshallah. I think that covers more or less everything that I had intended to mention. If you have any questions, you may ask, and then we can hopefully discuss that as well. Any questions with regards to the zakat? No? Was that good? Comprehensive? Yes? No, wife can't give zakat to husband. Husband can't give to wife. Yeah, both ways. So I forgot to mention that when I was mentioning the usul and the furu, you can't give to your parents and children, all the way up and down. Similar, wife as well. You can't give to your wife, and wife can't give to you. You can't be benefiting from the zakat directly. You understand? Yeah. So that's one thing. The hadith mentions the food, the amount of barley and wheat, barley, raisins, and what do you call it, the dates for the zakatul fitr. But all scholars agree that you can give its equivalent in money as well, because it would be difficult nowadays who you're going to find who to give. So you can give otherwise the money as well. So Zakatul Fitr, brothers are requested that Eid is coming up. Again, the correct time, many scholars say that you need to, the hadith, according to the hadith, the Zakatul Fitr should be given on the night of the Eid, so before. Some scholars have said, okay, 1 or 2 days before is fine, but then not too early. But some scholars have given the fatwa that once Ramadan has started, you may give the Zakatul Fitr, especially if you need to make sure that it reaches the poor people. And I would say that opinion fits us, logically speaking, from our understanding as well. Because let's say you come on Eid day, Zakatul Fitr must be given before Eid Salah. So let's say you come on Eid day and you're paying money here to the masjid, that money is not going to reach the poor people for Eid. They can't enjoy their Eid. So if we are sending it, let's say a week or 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance, we're sending it to the poor people back home, different countries, then that's fine.
Some people have, for example, keeping 30,000 pounds for buy the house.
Good question. Yeah, good question. So if you are collecting to maybe pay a deposit, you're collecting. Let's say you've collected £30,000 and you're waiting to get to £40,000 so you can put down a deposit. If your year has completed and you have that in your possession, you need to give zakat on that. You need to calculate zakat. Yeah, even though it might be a lot, but that needs to be done. Okay. I think one other thing that I didn't mention was with regards to property. Many people ask this question as well. With regards to property, it doesn't matter how many properties you have. You don't need to give zakat on that. Same thing with cars. If you have many cars, but you don't have the intention counts here. Intention is very important. If you don't have the intention of reselling, then you don't give zakat on that. Same thing, property. Let's say I've got 4 pieces of land. I'm just accumulating land, just for long term. Maybe in my back of my mind, if it goes up, if I need to, I'll sell it, make money. That's different. Long term. Similar, remember stocks I mentioned as well. Day trading was different, long-term investment was different. So when it comes to the property as well, if you have an intention, let's say I bought a property and I'm thinking, okay, when the market goes up, hopefully it'll go up soon, I'll sell it and make some quick money, then you need to give zakat on that. But if that's not the intention, then you don't give zakat on that. It doesn't matter if it's one plot, one piece of land or 10 pieces of land, it doesn't matter how much land you've got. If you've got a property, let's say you've got a building and you're renting it out, okay, more than one houses you've got, but you're maybe using them, but if you're renting it out, then the rental income will be zakatable. When the day you calculate your zakat, you calculate whatever rental income into your assets and you calculate the zakat on that as well. Okay, so that's the understanding with regards to the property. Same thing with cars as well. Yeah, if it's not sold, yeah. So if it's,
you're selling the property.
Yeah, then you need to give zakat on that. Yeah. Okay. Then another thing with the gold.
Doesn't have the money because it's not sold yet.
You can calculate it and give it once it sells. Yeah. Okay, and yes. If it is due, meaning it's due, you need to calculate it. You basically someone is being lazy, they haven't done it yet. Then you can deduct that. Meaning, because the tax year ends once the tax year ends, is it April? April, but then you have until February or when?
December that year.
Oh yeah, so you have many months to pay that. But if it has become due, you've been lazy, not calculating it, so you calculate, you can deduct that. Same thing when it comes to, for example, bills. Many people ask bills or rent. For that month, if the bill has come, you haven't paid it yet, but the bill is due, you can deduct that from your month, but just for that month. Okay, the rent, if it's due, you need to pay it that rent is due, then you can deduct that, but not more. Okay? Yes?
If you feel like unable to protect, if you can't get, you're not allowed interest.
Yeah.
If you have interest on your bank account, you can give zakat.
If you get interest. Yeah, then you need, first thing is if you shouldn't be, you need to be getting rid of the interest. If you're receiving interest, first of all you need to try and avoid that. It's haram, major sin. But if you're, let's say sometimes there's a situation where you didn't have the option, there's no option, you've received it, you need to get rid of that interest, not hold on to it, not keep it, give it away without the intention of reward. You're just getting rid of that wealth. And do tawbah as well, ask Allah for forgiveness. But if that is with your wealth, you need to give zakat on that. No, so you can calculate your zakat. So calculate your zakat and you can give it, let's say I've got money saved in my account. I don't have to take money out from there and give zakat. I calculate the zakat, and if I have cash, I can give zakat cash. That's not a problem. Understand? Whatever the amount is. One other thing, I touched on this before. Many people ask this question, and I will just repeat this at the end. Very important, these points. One is that we fix a date, Islamic date, every year, calculate on that date. Do not be casual, do not just say, I calculate my zakat in Ramadan. Because Ramadan has 30 days, 29 or 30 days. And your wealth will fluctuate. Let's say in the beginning of Ramadan you had 20,000 pounds. By the end of Ramadan you bought a car. Then you don't have any money left. So you fix a date. Fix a date. Whether it's 1st of Ramadan, 15th of Ramadan, whichever date, fix a date. Every year on that date you calculate zakat. That's very important. The other thing is, for a household, don't calculate zakat together as one. Let's say husband and wife, many people make this mistake. Husband and wife, I calculate, okay, I've got savings this much, I've got this much stock investment, wife has got this much jewelry, and we calculate everything together and we're giving zakat together. That shouldn't be the case. Zakat, every individual, calculate it separately. If you give zakat with her permission, with her knowledge, then that's fine. But calculate it separately, because many masail would be, many masail would come into play. Let's say, and I've mentioned this before, let's say I calculated my zakat, because one person was asking me this question. At first I didn't understand. He's asking me, I've got this much amount of zakatable assets, but I've got more debt to pay off. So do I need to give the zakat? I said, no, you don't have to give zakat. But he kept asking me the question. So I was a bit confused. I said, there's something wrong. So I told him, okay, tell me from the beginning and break it down to me totally. Then I understood that he was calculating his own assets and everything, whatever he needs to give zakat, and his wife's, because wife is separate. So his wife's jewelry and everything, what wife has, calculated together, and then he was saying the debt is more than what we have. I asked him simple question, is the debt on you or is it on you and your wife? And he said, it's on me. The debt is on me. So then I calculate mine separately, and then if the debt is more, then I don't give zakat. But wife will still have to give zakat. The debt is on me, not on her. So that's why it's very important. Those our children, if they have started working, we need to create this awareness. Start educating our children from a young age that when you start earning, when you start having the amount, the nisab threshold, you need to start mark that date, and next year give that zakat. Even if you're doing it for them, let's say a child is 16, starts working, 18, starts working, and he's receiving money, and you help him, you guide him, okay, you've marked the date, okay, the first time you received money, it was 7th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, next year, 7th of Dhul Hijjah, maybe set a reminder in your alarm or in your calendar. Next year, 7th of Dhul Hijjah, call your son, okay, let's sit down. What have you got? How much have you got? Do you owe someone money? Calculate their zakat, and then if you want to give the zakat for them, then Bismillah. You can, okay, you tell your son, I'll give you zakat for you. He says, fine, yes, father, that's great. Then that's fine. But make sure you do that. Same thing with your wives in your household. Don't, get them involved. It's their zakat. Even if you're doing a favor and giving the zakat for them, fine. You'll get the ajr and reward. But make sure you're deliberate about this, inshallah. Khair. Anything else? Or we'll conclude, as we've gone quite over time, inshallah. You give, so how much you have given in, you need to give zakat on that. Yes, so how much you have given, you need to calculate zakat on that when the year goes by. Okay? Interest-free what? Loan? Oh, I think you probably came late. The long-term loan, I've mentioned this, long-term loans such as mortgage, such as student loans and other long-term loans, you deduct 12 months payments, installments, not the whole thing. Let's say it was £30,000, you're not going to say, oh, I don't need to give zakat. No. If you're paying 1,000 per month, then you deduct £12,000 from your zakatable assets and then you give the zakat. Okay? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding and the ability to act upon whatever has been said, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadat, our zakat, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our wealth, give us blessing and barakah in our wealth. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullah khairan.